set of Trump exclamations and trade-related policies we've seen for weeks, Martin, because if, as your colleague reported, they really are talking about zero for zero, that's the best possible way to do reciprocity. That's what FDR and Cordell Hull did with reciprocity in the 30s and 40s. And that's to the US and the world's advantage. So this also takes place against a context where both India and the US, along with China, have been extremely problematic for everybody else at the WTO, the World Trade Organization, and in various prior rounds of trade deals and negotiations. India has been a problem. So it would be wonderful for the people of India. It would be wonderful for the world if this became zero for zero with India. And if that became the true definition of reciprocity as the Trump administration uses it, if they went out there with that, great. But two reality checks, India and US. India would have to make major transformations to the state, and including, even if you protect agriculture, which essentially all countries do, but including to the extent of control Prime Minister Modi and his party have over allocation of contracts and things in the economy. And it'd be great if they're willing to do it, but I'm not going to hold my breath right now. Similarly, the US, if you do zero for zero with India, then I think we have a number of Indian Americans, very prominent business people and leaders who can advocate for this, but it would be very out of character with everything we've seen so far. It would be a win that would make me very happy, but I'm not sure it's got political support.
Yeah. Okay, Adam, zero for zero, best case, right, for both sides, right, would also be wonderful, and I have to be careful that I don't imply too much here, would also be wonderful for Elon Musk and Tesla, would it not?
I don't care. I don't want to drive policy by what's good for Tesla, and I don't take any satisfaction in what's bad for Tesla. This is the whole problem with the manufacturing obsession, is that, and protectionism in pursuit of it, which, as you said, Martin, isn't the only way to do it. Because, and this was true under Biden, and this was true under Trump 1, you create national champions, and then they are too big to fail, like Boeing is, like the banks were, and they end up being more corrupt and wasting money and ripping off the American consumer. So, Tesla wins, Tesla loses. I'm not an investor. I don't care.
All right. Fair enough. Let's get to China. So we've got 10% on 10% on an already existing 20-odd percent, so we're up to about 40+%. Where do we go from here, and the end game, if you believe that the Trump administration is using tariffs tactically to try and get other or different outcomes? What does the Trump administration want from China?
It's a really good question, and I'm not trying to be facetious and just say their communications are incoherent at the moment. It's because there's a genuine set of tensions, and this was true also in the Biden administration and Trump 1. There's a national security argument for having special case application of tariffs, subsidies, anti-dumping measures, countervailing duties, a whole bunch of things specifically to China, because China is a strategic threat, and you don't want to be dependent on China in certain things, and you don't want China to get certain technologies easily. Now, how effective these things are is another question. My colleague Martin Trezempa at Peterson has written extensively on this. But whether or not they're effective, it's at least a case you can make. Then there's the economic case, which is a much harder case to make on any sort of merits. Then you get the question what you just said, which is what's the end game? And is it that China gets rid of all state-owned enterprises? That's not going to happen. And arguably that doesn't help anybody anyway, except the Chinese. Is it that China increases growth from consumption? Well, the Chinese government has been trying to do that, but with the way they behaved during COVID and the treatment of real estate mess, savings is way up in China, and that's not a weapon against the U.S. That's because they got problems. So, if I'm sitting there in the Trump administration, I would be pushing on the national security side and trying to define that and have an end goal there. And then on the economic side, once you've sectioned off, it may be quite a bit, but once you've sectioned off the things that are directly national security, don't be too dependent, don't transfer too much technology, then 0 for 0 on other things would make a lot of sense.
All right. Well, we'll see how this develops. Adam, listen, we got to go. It's been great to talk to you. Always is.
Thank you for having me, Martin.
Appreciate your time. No, always. Keep safe, keep warm. Do it again very soon. Adam Posen there from the PIIE joining us.